Howdy folks, hope you're all having a good one, and welcome back to World of Warships with Rear Admiral Jingles. There are two things in today's video that are hard damn work. The first is just how hard Bot Asterisk the first year has to carry his team kicking and screaming to the finish line in this Tier 9 arms race battle here on the Islands of Ice map. And the other thing about this battle that is hard damn work is saying Bot Asterisk the first every time I need to refer to him. So, you know it, he probably knows it, I know it, we all know it. I'm just going to call him Dave. Welcome back, Dave. It's been far too long. You all know you're in for a treat when Dave's on screen. Dave's great. And he plays so many different types of ships as well, and in so many different ways. Dave's amazing. He's so talented. So, right, having established that I'm just crap at saying names, let's crack on with today's battle. So it's an arms race map, which means a couple of things. I realise most of you are probably aware exactly what the arms race mode involves, but there are probably still some people out there who don't. No capture points in arms race, at least not at first, although there are things that can be picked up. You can see some of them indicated over there on the horizon. These are basically buffs. Once that zone becomes active, anybody on the team that gets into the, let's call it cap circle, where the buff is located, claims that buff for their entire team. And while there's no actual capture point in arms race, at the moment, if you look at the top of the screen, just above the scores, which are currently 500 points per team, you'll see a countdown timer. Once that timer expires, a cap circle will appear in the middle of the map, and it'll be huge. But as the battle goes on, it gets smaller and smaller and smaller, forcing the teams into closer and closer proximity in order to contest and take that central cap circle. And you really do not want to let the enemy team take it, because unlike normal cap circles in most game modes, taking the central cap in an arms race gives you 10 points per second that you hold it. So it's basically a guaranteed win if you can take that cap. Dave here is of course sailing the Musashi. Oh, there we go, somebody on the team just picked up one of the buffs, hit point regeneration. You do tend to see, by the way, kind of inflated damage numbers in an arms race mode because of these buffs. There's sort of an unspoken gentleman's agreement in World of Warships that if you're claiming the damage record in a ship in any particular battle, it has to not be in an arms race battle because there's just so much more in the way of hit points to be farmed with things like hit point buffs that you can pick up for the ships, increasing the maximum number of hit points, and then hit point regeneration buffs that stack up to 3 times, so even ships that don't actually have repair party can get healed back up in an arms race mode if you don't finish them off when you've got them on the ropes. There's just so much more damage able to be done in an arms race battle that when people are talking about claiming world damage records, it's generally accepted that arms race battles don't count. Having a Musashi available to be shot at certainly doesn't hurt in that regard either. Ooh, I thought that Mets was given an uncomfortable amount of broadside to, well, everything. And the enemy Mets finished him off. So, first blood to the enemy team, courtesy of the friendly Mets, sinking and burning just over there. Oh, speaking of giving uncomfortable amounts of broadside, that Adatara is definitely asking for it. Shots out, managed to get the rear turret around as well. Oh, this is looking pretty good. Yeah, not bad. No citadels, surprisingly, but, 22,000 damage, we'll take it. But yes, speaking of large amounts of hit points to be farmed, bringing a Musashi along to get shot at certainly doesn't hurt in that regard, because the Musashi, sister ship to the world-famous Yamato, is basically a Yamato, except at Tier 9. And it comes with Tier 10 Yamato hit points. It also comes with the Tier 10 Yamato armor scheme, which is both a good thing and a bad thing, the Tier 10 Yamato speed, which is not a particularly good thing, and the Tier 10 Yamato 18.1-inch guns, which can overmatch 32mm of armor plating, or in other words, the bow and stern armor plating of most high-tier battleships in the game, and is therefore capable of citadeling them, even when angled from the front. Wow, that Adatara really hasn't learned his lesson, has he? It's a new line of Japanese battle cruisers, by the way. Very, very big guns, very fast, horrible armour, nasty exposed citadels. Yep, it didn't work for the battle cruisers at Jutland, and it didn't work for him either. Oh, and the friendly Helena just picked up a kill on the enemy Miasma, so, well, it's not a bad start. Dave's team are ahead by 1 kill. I mean, it's not much of a lead, and then they instantly throw it when when the enemy Jarsfeld sinks the Duke of York. So fine, whatever. It's early days. We're only a quarter of the way in. This can still 100% absolutely go either way. Got some nice big juicy hits on the Mets over there. Oh, and the team have just lost to North Carolina. Okay, never mind. Metz is trying to get into cover behind the island there, but, well, Dave is far enough away that he can still lob shots over. And some more big juicy hits on the Mets, and it's here where the friendly Akatsuki suffers a sudden rush of shit to the brain. Because who does he think he's going to torpedo from that angle? The Mets is ducking in behind the island. You have to come out. I mean, this is basic, simple geometry. It's never going to work. All the Akatsuki succeeded in doing is getting himself spotted and shot at by the Mets, losing some hit points for no reason whatsoever, and Dave has to dig his ass out of the fire. And does by getting his second kill of the game and taking out the Mets. He's now at 120,000 damage, and despite the loss of the North Carolina, the team are still 1 kill ahead, although the enemy team have picked up 1 more buff. There is a hit point buff right ahead though, with absolutely no enemy ships anywhere in any kind of position to contest it, so naturally the Akatsuki is sailing away from it. So, although somebody else on the team has picked up a hit point regeneration buff from elsewhere. But yeah, that Akatsuki at the moment, not impressed. Really does not appear to be much use to the team alive. So, I was extolling the virtues of the Musashi just now, and while it is true that it does have the same massive 18.1 inch guns as the Yamato, the team loses their Helena, which means of course that the enemy team are once again even on kills and slightly ahead on points because they've sunk more battleships. Dave, however, has a plan to fix that as he unloads at the broadside Hawk, and they're good, and it's not quite enough to kill him though, but he is finished off by the torpedoes from the friendly Z-31, which honestly was kind of lucky because they were launched at a pretty bad angle. Dave immediately follows up with some shots at the enemy Akatsuki and claims the kill there. The enemy team responds by sinking the friendly Jean Bart. Actually, it's kind of embarrassing, actually, getting sunk by Bliskovica torpedoes. That doesn't happen very often, but the balance has once again swung in the favour of Dave's team. They are once again 1 kill ahead, and they have a very slim 40-point advantage, although the enemy team do still have 1 more buff. Iowa's shooting at him here, but, well, that's a lot of broadside, Iowa. Are you comfortable with that? I'm not sure he is. And there's the Bliskovica. Okay. Well, the Iowa managed to turn away in time to avoid getting completely spanked by that 18-inch armour-piercing salvo. And somebody on Dave's team just picked up a buff, but the Scharnhorst 43 sinks the friendly Coronel Bolognese, so the points are now even, as are the kills, and that central cap circle has just appeared. The good news is that both Dave and the Musashi and the friendly Akatsuki are in this central cap, as somebody else picks up another buff and are flipping it. And the friendly Z-31 is also right next to the cap circle boundary and could, although it doesn't look like he is, assist in flipping it. The bad news, and the enemy Iowa is playing a very, very dangerous game over there. Let's see if he turns out in time to avoid this 18.1-inch armour-piercing salvo. And it looks like he is. Yeah, I mean he took some damage, but not enough. And there's Dave's High Caliber Award. And there's the enemy Bliskovica. And the only reason that guy would have left the cover of his smoke screen is because, well, the smoke screen is expiring and he's already got torpedoes on the way. So Dave, because obvious torpedoes are kind of obvious, and there's the Confederate Award, slams on the brakes, watches the torpedoes sail on by, and then refocuses his fire on the Bliskovica, who is still, at the moment, the biggest threat. Surprisingly, the Akatsuki is still alive. which means that while Dave is having his capture progress reset, the Akatsuki isn't. So after failing to cover himself in glory earlier, the Akatsuki now has the opportunity to... What is he doing? Why are you leaving the cap circle? Why are you sailing to within 2 kilometers of an enemy cruiser? Why are you getting shot and having your capture progress reset? Why have you just left? Oh, bloody hell. The Akatsuki, obviously trying to torpedo and sink the Jarsveld, left the cap circle, got spotted, launched torpedoes, failed to hit the Jarsveld, got himself killed, and now the Jarsveld is going for Dave. That's a double airstrike. This could hurt. It didn't actually hurt that much, but it was a double fire, and we can't have that, so there goes the damage control. Thanks largely to the bumbling incompetence of the Akatsuki player there, Dave's team are now 2 kills, nearly 200 points behind, and Dave is the only member of his team inside this cap circle. The only good news here is he scores yet another Citadel on the Iowa over there. Actually, no, that's his first Citadel on the Iowa. But the only good news here is that at least nobody else on the enemy team is inside the cap circle. But if Dave's expecting any help from the rest of his team, aside from the Mets sinking the New Orleans, yeah, he's going to be waiting for a very, very long time. Holy crap, the Jarsveld's managed to get another airstrike off already. And of course, it's a fire. And damage controls on, cool down. It's not that the rest of Dave's team are being completely useless. I mean, the Mets all the way up there to the northwest did just finish off the New Orleans, and he is at least giving the enemy team something else to shoot at other than Dave. The same can be said of the Poltava and the Vyazma over there to the west. But that's not a huge amount of consolation for Dave, because there's still plenty of other enemy ships who are focusing him down. Not least of which is that pesky Jarsveld, and the Mets has just died to the Scharnhorst 43. The Iowa, however, seems to think that the Citadel that Dave just scored on him was some kind of fluke. It wasn't. Surprise torpedoes are, however, kind of surprising. He's going to take 2 of them. Actually, no, he took 3. That's really bad. Look at all of his health disappearing. There's the Jarsveld. That guy is being a real pain in the ass, not just for the airstrikes, but also the high explosive spam. Oh, and he's got him! And there's the Kraken unleashed. And the kills are once again even, as are the points. And Dave is still the only member of the team actually playing the objective, although to be completely fair, nobody on the enemy team is playing the objective either. But the reason they're not playing the objective... I mean, there could be many reasons why the enemy team aren't playing the objective. They could just be bad. But it also could have something to do with the fact that there's a Tier 9 Yamato sitting in the middle of the cap circle. And these things are dangerous. I should probably clarify here though. Oh, more Bliskovich torpedoes. And he's spotted. You know, it sure would be nice if, I don't know, maybe there was a surviving cruiser on the team. They could shoot at the enemy destroyer. No? No, okay. But yes, I should probably clarify. Yes, the Musashi is, to all intents and purposes, a Tier 9 Yamato, with all of the advantages that that entails, except not quite all of the advantages, because there are differences. For a start, while it does have the same number and calibre of hoofing dirty great big guns, yeah, that was another solid hit, they're not quite as accurate. In fact, the accuracy, particularly with the Sigma, is not that great. Also, while the Yamato's anti-aircraft firepower, in a game where anti-aircraft firepower is largely completely irrelevant anyway, isn't very good to begin with, the Musashi's is significantly worse. Oh, well, that's not exactly 100% relevant in this battle because there are no aircraft carriers. There were some airstrikes, and having better anti-aircraft firepower might have reduced the damage that he took from the multiple airstrikes that he suffered at the hands of the Jarsveld. Oh, Dave's asking for help from the rest of his team. Bless him, such an optimist. No, they were too busy shooting at and failing to hit and sink the Caracciolo that Dave just sank. So perhaps now that there is nothing else for them to shoot at, other than the Bliskovica over there and the Scharnhorst, they might actually turn in this direction and be some use to the team alive. Dave's there in chat. Musashi against the world. Yeah, he's not far wrong, is he? He's on 6 kills after all, with high caliber, Confederate. I mean, you know, all of the I am doing all of the work here awards. But now he's backing up into the cap circle and flipping the cap again. Now the Scharnhorst 43 is closing in. He is, of course, spotted, which means the Bliskovica actually, suspiciously, is not shooting at him from the smoke screen, which probably means he's trying to get some torpedoes away. As I often say, you don't have to have the hydroacoustic search consumable to know that somebody's trying to torpedo you. Just pay attention to what's going on. And obvious torpedoes can be very, very obvious, which seems like the... Yep, he's moved into the cap circle, so he's trying to get close enough to launch his torpedoes. The cap is now contested. Of course, the exact reason why Dave is no longer backing up into the cap circle and is instead giddying on up out of there. The other reason, of course, being he does not want to get within secondary range of the Scharnhorst 43. It doesn't have like 11 or 12 kilometre secondary range that you get on tier 8, 9 and 10 secondary focused battleships, but it's still pretty good. Actually, I don't think it's quite as good as the regular Scharnhorst, although they do have an increased rate of fire. There's some difference between the regular Scharnhorst secondaries and the Scharnhorst 43s. Oh, it looks like the Poltava and the Vyazma have finally turned up. It looks like the Scharnhorst isn't interested, he's trying to get into cover. It's at this point where the Vyazma, because the Bliskovica has launched torpedoes, ends up ooh, big hit, 28,000 damage. But yes, it is at this point where the Vyazma, completely by accident, does end up being useful to the team alive. Or at least being useful to Dave, because the Bliskovica has launched torpedoes. And here they are. As the Vyazma just blunders right into Dave here. Dave was never going to make the turn in time. Would have been hit by multiple torpedoes and would have died. But due to the Vyazma not knowing how to drive, he has even Dave's laughing his ass off in chat there. And the Bliskovica is not impressed. He knows that would have been a kill. Oh, look at the reload on these guns now. With Adrenaline Rush and the various different buffs that he's picked up. These are 18.1 inch guns. Not amazingly accurate 18.1 inch guns, I have to admit. At least not compared to the Yamato. But these are 18.1 inch guns with an 11.6 second reload. I bet you that Scharnhorst is very, very nervous right now. Well, the enemy have now taken the cap, which means they're gaining 10 points per second, with the rest of the team doing their level best to not get into the cap and contest it and prevent the enemy team from winning. It is left up once again to Dave to charge into the cap in the low health battleship to face the enemy destroyer, who's almost certainly reloaded his torpedoes by now, while his two basically full health teammates, although to be fair to the Vyazma, he's joined him in the cap circle. Same cannot be said of the Poltava. He's managed to duck behind an island and can't actually shoot at anything, and Dave's got the Bliskovica, but not before the Bliskovica got the torpedoes away. He's going to take 2, 3 will sink him. No, he dodges the third, but there is a flood. There goes the damage control. The Scharnhorst, well, he doesn't have anything to lose anymore, comes out, tries to get some extra damage in, and the Vyazma spanks his broadside, finishes him off, and there's the win. Dave can finally heave a sigh of relief. There's 334,000 damage. The Decoy Mission Award, one of the bounty target missions, the Confederate Award, Devastating Strike, 4 Hunter Bounties, Dreadnought, Kraken Unleashed, Dangerous Bounty, and last but by no means least, with 334,000 damage done, High Caliber. 3,158 base experience in this 7-kill game for Bot Asterisk the First, the artist formerly known as Dave, in the Musashi. And I hope watching that didn't tire you all out as much as I'm, well, fairly sure it tired out him, because that was hard damn work. Hope you all enjoyed it, and as always, take care, and I'll catch you next time.